Hello everyone, good to be back after Saturdays off. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Today is 24th of November, Sunday. Now it's about 11 o'clock and this is my first news update in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. Although before I start, let me notice that later on today, towards the evening, I will publish on my Patreon and Boosty pages a new episode of News of the Week program, in which I will discuss main topics of this week, and I will share my take on current developments and what might happen in the near future. Hopefully our communities there will like this program, and I hope members of our bigger community on YouTube and Rumble will also consider to join our communities on Patreon and Booster, because that will be great support of this project. And now let's go through some news. And first of all, I'll give you a short summary on the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. Latest reports are that Russian armed forces, as a result of local scale offensive operations, significantly improved their positions in Orekhov direction in Zaporozhye sector of the front line. And according to some reports, Russian troops are now conducting operations in vicinity of Malaya Takmachka settlement and also Belogorye settlement. Russian troops actually entered this town, and maybe during the day we will receive information that this settlement is under Russian control. Also, we are receiving information about further progress of Russian armed forces in Velika and Novoselovka direction, which is South Donetsk sector of the front line. But as you can see, dear friends, Russian troops, according to this map, actually are conducting operations now in vicinity of Velika and Novoselovka. Yesterday, several channels reported that Russian troops entered Velika and Novoselovka, but without photo or video confirmation. It's hard to tell, but it is possible that at least Russian DRGs already are operating in Velika and Novoselovka. Significant progress, sectoral scale progress, of course. We are receiving information that Russian armed forces establish control over their Ilinka settlement, also on South Donetsk sector of the front line, on northern side of Elizavetovka. And there is two Ilinka settlements, by the way, one in northern side of Kurakhova city, and this Ilinka was liberated last a couple of days ago, and I reported about it, and now reports are coming in that this another Ilinka settlement on South Donetsk sector is also under Russian control, unsurprisingly so. And the Russian troops are significantly improving their positions in Toretsk area, and reports are that Russian forces managed to achieve significant breakthrough in Toretsk city itself, and more than 50% of this town is now under full Russian control, and Russian troops significantly improving their positions in Chisovy direction also. And yesterday afternoon, many channels reported that Kiev regime is deploying in direction of Chisovy some elite formations that they still have in their disposal to slow down Russian progress in this area. I don't think it will work. Russian troops will decimate enemy forces, obviously, but Kiev regime is trying. Also, Russian forces further improving their positions in Kupiansk direction, and also in zone of special counter-terrorist operation, basically in Suja district of Kursk region, where according to different sources, Kiev regime might still have up to 20,000 military personnel. By the way, in this small pocket here, there might be up to 20,000 troops of Kiev regime and NATO mercenaries that are basically stuck like sitting ducks, right? And Russian long-range artillery, missile forces, air force is pounding enemy troops in this area, and therefore casualty numbers are unimaginable on side of enemy forces. And this is when it comes to short summary. If you are interested in more detailed information about changes, daily changes on line of contact, of course I recommend military channels for that. They are actually providing great volume of information. And if by chance you are not familiar with their military channels in alternative media, under this video in description box I have a recommendation list of the channels that I follow, and you can find at least several links to military channels there also. And they all are great channels, by the way, from Duran to Glenn Greenwald's channel, and there are just all of them, by the way. I have a dozen of links there of different channels. Among them you will find military channels also. Okay, that's been said. Let's go through some more news now. Andrea Novosti is reporting that during the nighttime, early hours of this Sunday, Russian air defense systems on duty intercepted 34 Ukrainian drones that were launched to strike deep into Russian territory, of course, with assistance of NATO member states. No reports at this point about casualties on the ground or more or less significant damage as a result of this yet another attempt of Kiev regime to strike deep into Russian territory. If any updates, of course, I will share additional information on my Telegram channel, on my X channel or Twitter X channel. And this is my Twitter X channel, by the way, that cannot be accessed without VPN, so I just turned on VPN. Let's see if I can open it. Yes, I can. So yeah, this is my X channel or page, and lately I start becoming more active here, and if you are on Twitter, please consider to join our community there. A link to my Twitter is also under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. But when it comes to this long-range strike deep into Russian territory with the drones, as you can see, no report about missile strikes deep into Russian territory. Yesterday evening, several channels reported that Kiev regime, formerly Kiev regime, in reality US, obviously, launched ATACMS missiles to strike into Kursk region, but this information was not confirmed officially, so therefore, at least for now, we don't have confirmed reports that after Russia's strike with the Oreshnik missile on manufacturing plant in the Dnepropetrovsk, we don't have confirmed information that NATO countries launched again long-range missiles to strike deep into Russian territory. I want to be optimistic, and I want to believe that Washington, London, Paris, other major capitals in collective West listen to Russian warnings and will take seriously what Moscow is saying. After all, this Oreshnik strike was actually a message for Western ruling class, right? That Russia may obliterate any military installation of US, UK, France, anywhere in Europe, in the Middle East, or anywhere on this planet, actually, if it comes to it. But let's be real. Most likely Western ruling class will learn nothing out of it. I watched yesterday reports on several Western media outlets, TV reports, and well, seems like Western propaganda is pushing narrative that Moscow will not use force to deter US or UK or France. So they are pushing this narrative that Moscow is bluffing, and quite actively, right? And this is a big mistake, by the way, because at some point they themselves gonna believe this nonsense, right? And if they're really believing that Moscow will not retaliate, then I guess they will go for a next level of escalation. And it seems like world is moving exactly in that direction, because we have this report that France greenlights Ukrainian strikes deep into Russia. So French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has said that Ukraine may use French missiles to attack targets in internationally recognized Russian territory without confirming whether such strikes have already taken place. So this statement comes after that famous Oreshnik strike that Russia conducted a couple of days ago. So it seems like they learn nothing. They learn nothing. They are unable to learn in general, those so-called elites in the West. And until they will face real force, they're not gonna stop. They're not gonna stop, and therefore, I'm afraid in upcoming days, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, maybe in a couple of days' time, Western ruling class probably will launch a large-scale missile combined attack on Russia with the missiles, drones, with everything they got. They might even try to attack Moscow, for example. And after that, Russian leadership will not really have any option but to take action, because there was enough statements, enough warnings, messages. Seems like nothing did work. So therefore, I guess in that scenario, if we will see once again long-range strike deep into Russian territory with these Western missiles, most likely Moscow will retaliate with a heavy hand. And it's either anybody's guess where exactly and how Moscow will retaliate. But I guess after that step, collective West and Russia will end up facing risk of full-scale nuclear exchange. And maybe at that point, Western ruling elites will realize that they really crossed the line. And maybe threat of obliteration will force them to, come to their senses. Because, I mean, if they think they're gonna somehow win a nuclear exchange or they're gonna survive or something, I mean, they are mistaken, right? So I'm afraid we are about to enter most dangerous stage of this confrontation that Western ruling class is waging against Russia. And when that standoff will happen, final standoff between the sides, like it happened during the Caribbean crisis, I guess cool heads will prevail at that moment, will take over, and will start looking for ways to really de-escalate, because otherwise, world as we know it gonna end on that. We will see. Meanwhile, by the way, my take in several episodes, several updates, I spoke about what is going to be next level of escalation on part of Western ruling class if Russia will not retaliate strongly now and will not force basically Western ruling class to come their senses. And I was saying that in that case, if Russia will not force Western elites to face the reality, then probably they will go ahead with nuclear escalation. I pointed out this new narrative that was pushed by Western propaganda, and big names, by the way, in Western propaganda, like, for example, Times, right? Many other outlets that are pushing this narrative that Kiev regime is well capable of creating nukes with or without US support. So topic of Kiev regime going nuclear is actively being developed in the West and by the West. And now we have this article from New York Times, another big name, formerly big name in Western media or propaganda. And according to this news from Vzglyad newspaper, New York Times come up with an article that US and Europe may provide Kiev regime with the nuclear weapons as a deterrent. Right? Let's translate a couple of sentences here. But I guess this information also can be taken as a direct confirmation, or at least indirect confirmation of my reading of big picture, that Western ruling class is definitely planning to go nuclear if Russia will not stop them right now with the actions, because statements and demonstrations clearly seems like are not working, right? So the United States and Europe are discussing the return of nuclear weapons to Kiev, which Ukraine abandoned after the collapse of Soviet Union, as a possible security guarantee. The New York Times newspaper reported US officials estimate that accelerating the supply of weapons to Ukraine is unlikely to significantly change the situation at the front in the short term, but it might strengthen the position of Kiev in the event of possible truce, reports TASS with a reference to the newspaper New York Times. According to New York Times, Western allies are considering various deterrence measures, including the deployment of an arsenal of conventional weapons on Ukrainian territory, in particular the return of conventional and I guess non-conventional, because in particular they are considering also return of nuclear weapons to Ukraine. But this step is assessed as difficult to implement, which can lead to serious consequences, the newspaper writes. Earlier, the Times, as I already mentioned, reported that Ukraine could develop a nuclear bomb in a few months without the help of the United States. Without Western authorization and help, Kiev regime will not be able to develop anything, really. Let's be clear on that. but Western ruling class will help their proxies in Ukraine, of course. And I mean, you also see, isn't it, this pattern that first one newspaper is reporting about nuclear Ukraine, then another one, then third one, fourth one, and including big names, by the way, like Times and New York Times, right? And this is not random. This is not the random stuff, and therefore Moscow not really have any option. And I guess everyone in Kremlin understands this, and everyone outside of the collective West, all the allies of Russia, all the friendly nations towards Russia, all of them, I guess, understand at this point that if Russia will not react strongly on escalation from the Western ruling class now, then next level of escalation, the next phase of escalation will be nuclear Ukraine, right? And therefore, world outside of West, which is 80% of humanity, by the way, right? Roughly. World will stand with Russia no matter what kind of decisions Kremlin will make to deter basically that next level of escalation, which is nuclear, right? So if Western ruling class, Western so-called elites are thinking that Moscow will bluff and don't take strong actions because Moscow would afraid that they will lose support of the rest of the world, they calculations are wrong, because all major countries in this world have a decent, more or less decent intelligence apparatus, more or less decent think tanks, right? And they all can well assess the situation and realize that yes, if Moscow is not stopping those cycles right now, then Washington, London, Paris, they're gonna go nuclear, and they are already pushing this narrative openly through their propaganda means, right? Like Times, New York Times, and so on. And they are already preparing public opinion that Kiev regime is well capable of creating its own nuclear weapons without any assistance from the West, which is false, obviously, But unfortunately, Western propaganda is quite effective when it comes to creation of these false narratives on which then policies being built by Western elites. A recent example, by the way, North Korean troops in zone of special military operation or Kursk salient. Did you see even single photo or video confirmation of North Korean troops anywhere near to Kursk salient area or anywhere near to line of contact in zone of special military operation? I did not, and no one did, right? But narrative, this false narrative was created by Western propaganda, by Western ruling class with active use of their propaganda means, and then policies, entire policies were built on this false narrative, right? And I remind you, as one of the means of justification, one of the reasons to justify this authorization for long-range strikes was presence of some elusive North Korean troops that no one saw, right? In a zone of hostility. That's how they operate, by the way. They create false narrative, then build their policies on these false narratives. And they clearly are preparing next stage, next phase of escalation, which is going to be nuclear, and therefore Moscow don't really have any options but to retaliate strongly to deter Western ruling class from further provocations. And the world will stand with Russia because world understands what is going on. World, with the exception of collective West countries, right? And even in collective West, by the way, there are many people that don't really want to see this escalation, never wanted this escalation, but unfortunately were never asked by their own elites, right? And on alternative media, by the way, so many experts constantly, but especially last several days, by the way, are expressing their anger on topic of this reckless behavior of the Western ruling class that are actually pushing world towards its end, because that's what nuclear exchange, full-scale war between Russia and NATO member states gonna be, end of everything. So therefore, let's see today, in today's weekly episode, Sunday's episode of News of the Week, I will talk maybe in a bit more detail about what may happen and how, but in general, I guess what will happen is that Western ruling class will, if not deterred, Western ruling class will launch long-range strikes in upcoming days, massive strikes on Russia, and then Moscow will have to make some strong decisions to avoid the next phase of escalation, which is yet again going to be nuclear. Anyways, let's continue, dear friends. RIA Novosti is reporting that Russian armed forces liberated settlement of Novodmitrovka in DPR. This information confirmed by Russian Defense Ministry. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that since the beginning of invasion in the Kursk salient area, Kiev regime lost more than 35,000 military personnel. Kiev regime and their NATO mercenaries, entire army, by the way, entire army was decimated in the Kursk salient area, army of their enemy. And according to military experts, Kiev regime threw into battle in Kursk salient area, best brigades they had. Lenteru is reporting, first this news, by the way, this news, Anatoly Shary, by the way, Ukrainian journalist in exile, he lives in Spain as far as I know, reported yesterday that staff of US embassy, British embassy, French embassy, embassy of Germany are leaving the Kiev controlled territory. Some of them are moving into Poland, and some of them are going back to their countries. which is interesting report, by the way. Anatoly Shari quite often shares with public interesting news. He has some sources in Ukraine, obviously. Sometimes he's mistaken, but sometimes he's correct. So maybe this information is true. I didn't see on any other source to report about evacuation, basically, of their staff of the embassies of US, France, UK, and Germany. But it might be the truth, and if so, that might be indicator of that my prediction is correct, and in upcoming days we will see combined large-scale missile strike deep into Russian territory with US, UK, and French missiles and the drones. And they are just evacuating, before that strike takes place, they are evacuating their embassies in anticipation of a potential Russian retaliatory strike, although I don't think Russia will strike embassies, right? Russia in retaliation may take out some military assets of US, France, UK on the European continent or in the Middle East or elsewhere, but I don't think embassies will be targeted. This is not Russian style, right? But anyways, interesting news. Of course. Vzгляд newspaper is also reporting that head of Russia's Yug group of forces was removed from his duties. General Gennady Anashkin. Officially, this decision was made as a rotation, standard rotation. But some other media outlets here in Russia, also military experts, bloggers, reported that reason for removal of this general is that his headquarters basically was not informing Moscow well enough about real situation in Seversk direction. And Lenta.ru, for example, is also reporting about it. Let's translate this news, by the way, for a little more detailed. Ribber also reported on this matter, so biggest military channel on Telegram, think tank. So Colonel General Gennady Anashkin, commander of the South Group of forces, have been removed from his post due to the situation in the Seversk direction. Details are reported by the author of their Telegram channel Ribber. According to him, the general did not inform their high command of their true state of affairs, hiding the real situation in Belgorovka, Grigorievka, Serebryanka, Zolotaryovka, Verkhnekamenskaya, and Vimka areas. So basically, as far as I understand, if it's true, by the way, if true, then probably maybe this general personally, or maybe his headquarters, was not informing Moscow about real situation on the ground in Seversk direction, which is, I find this whole situation like difficult to understand and believe. What the hell, man? Why you are hiding information? If things are bad, then you have to inform your leadership to maybe allocate whatever is necessary to improve the situation, right? But if you are hiding information, then how are you gonna improve their anything there, right? So I don't know what the hell is going on, by the way. But Ribber is definitely well-informed source in Russia. He has his own sources, as far as I understand, including in Defense Ministry. And if he is writing that reasoning for removal of this general is that his headquarters was not sharing adequate information about situation in Seversk direction, then probably that's how it is. But let's see. In any case, it is good that Moscow is monitoring situation and Moscow has several sources of information, right? Several sources for information, and therefore Even if someone else will try to do something like that in the future, they will know that Moscow will find out real situation anyways, and you're gonna end up in trouble if you will try to hide some information from the leadership. But yet again, if true, by the way, I have no reasons to doubt report from Reaper, but every now and then everybody makes mistakes, and maybe this general was removed from some other reasons, I don't know, or maybe for this exact reason that Reaper is talking about. In any case, it is good to know that Russian leadership is determined to have objective information when it comes to situation on line of contact. TASS news agency is also reporting that Russian armed forces conducted yet another long-range strike with the Iskander missile in Dnipro, by the way, Dnipropetrovsk direction, and as a result of this strike, MiG-29 fighter jet was destroyed. MiG-29 of Kiev regime's air force and a number of military personnel. There is a video of this strike that I believe I shared on my Telegram. I'm not quite sure about it. Anyways, let's continue. RT is reporting that some mystery drones spotted over US bases in UK. So multiple unidentified drones were detected near the three major UK air bases, including RAF Lakenlet, I'm butchering name of that base, I guess, which formerly hosted American nuclear weapons during Cold War. The US Air Force has confirmed, according to a spokesperson for the US Air Force's European Command, small unmanned aerial vehicles were observed between November 20 and 22nd over RAF Lakenheath and RAF Royal Air Force's Mildenhall and Suffolk, as well as RAF's Feltwell bases in Norfolk. The number of suspicious drones fluctuated and ranged in size and configuration, and it remains unclear whether they pose a hostile threat to military. The Pentagon declined to comment on whether any air defenses were employed against the drones, stating only that they actively monitor the situation to ensure none of their incursions impacted base residents or critical infrastructure. So quite interesting news, isn't it? I wonder from where those drones came from and what was going on, but of course military is not gonna tell us, isn't it? But it is interesting, especially nowadays, by the way, when you hear something like that. I mean, you of course are visualizing straight away potential Russian retaliatory strikes if NATO countries will dare to attack Russia with their long-range missiles again. And of course, if and when Russia will retaliate in case of such long-range strikes on Russia, then all bets are off, right? Russia may strike US bases in Poland, in Romania, in UK also, why not? And UK's bases can be obliterated also in Europe or in elsewhere. French military bases. So Russia already demonstrated, by the way, that it has means. If anybody did not knew about it, it has means and it has a political will to defend Russia by all means necessary. And my hope is that Western ruling class will listen and de-escalate. But I'm not really that optimistic when it comes to that topic, because until for now, all Western ruling class demonstrated is that they have no reverse gear and they are unable to learn. I mean, that's how it is, right? And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice that this project is completely subscriber funded. And if you think my channels deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, if you think it is necessary, voice from Russia, voice of ordinary citizen journalists from Russia to be heard, outsider of Russian, if you like my work, please consider to support this project. You can do it with donations through PayPal or Boosty platforms, or by subscribing to my page on Patreon. And this is my page on Patreon, by the way, where I have quite a lot of extra content, right? So you can subscribe to my Patreon or my Boosty page. Also, all the links on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. I really hope that we would reach 200 our community on Patreon, but unfortunately, you know, it seems like we would not reach 200 before end of this year, which means that this project will still be in this survival mode, man. I don't know how long this is gonna continue, but it is quite stressful when you are working on something that is constantly in survival mode. That's, anyways, all the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, and you are seeing on your screen right now my page on Twitter X. And if you are on Twitter, I mean, if it's not difficult, it's free, isn't it? So I mean, you can subscribe to my Twitter X page. Once again, I mean, lately I become relatively active here also, and who knows, one day Twitter X account may become a good reserve line of communication for us. So, and you can find the link of my Twitter also on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. Let's continue with some other news. Just a couple of more. Update is already 37 minutes. Okay, just a few more news, dear friends. The Commerçant newspaper is reporting that this morning there was a shootout near Embassy of Israel in Jordan, and as a result, attacker was killed, and also 3 policemen were wounded. Investigation is underway, and probably we will learn some more about this incident later on. TASS news agency is also reporting that a plane of Russian Ministry of Emergency Situations delivered yet another humanitarian aid package to Lebanon. 33 tons of humanitarian aid was transported by Il-76 plane. And of course, not just Russia, but many countries worldwide are trying, doing as much as they can, as far as I understand, to be supportive of Palestinian people and now people in Lebanon, to provide them with their means to survive, basically, because they are in very difficult situation, right, due to military actions of the Netanyahu's government. Also, RIA Novosti is reporting that according to Bloomberg, Europe is facing yet another energy crisis. Seems like there are not enough gas in Europe now, in at underground facilities where they are stockpiling that natural gas to be used during the winter times. Also, there are some issues, obviously, when it comes to this gas between some European companies, even countries, and Russian Gazprom. And so Europe is facing a new energy crisis aimed at dwindling gas reserves, cold weather, and possibly supply restrictions from Russia following US sanctions against Gazprom Bank. Bloomberg reported rapidly dwindling gas reserves in impending supply cuts from Moscow are setting the stage for a new energy crisis in Europe. The situation is about to worsen due to gas supplies that helped replenish supplies in 2024 and that are likely to be unavailable next year, which will increase pressure on prices. Of course, prices, by the way, that's what I wanted to say from the beginning, that this is whenever you see information about energy crisis from Western propaganda outlets, and Bloomberg is of course Western propaganda outlets, first thing to know is that these energy companies in Europe are planning to hike prices. That's what is going on, by the way, because if European elites, European energy companies, if they really care about their customers, if they really wanted to keep prices down or to make sure that there are no energy crises on the continent, they would try to maintain good working relationships with Russia and Russian energy companies, but they didn't. They destroyed these relationships, right? And now, whenever you see these complaints that, oh, we are facing some issues here and there, this is all about incoming hike in energy prices that are already, as far as I understand, high enough in many European countries. That's what is happening. If they really wanted to keep prices low and operate and take in account interests of their customers, they would act differently. RT is also reporting, and I will end this update on this news, that China triples uranium imports from Russia. Beijing is poised to become the largest importer of Russian nuclear fuel this year, following Moscow's ban on enriched uranium exports to the US in retaliation for Washington's selective restrictions. Over the past 10 months, China has purchased $849 million worth of enriched uranium from Russia. This is a more than 3 times increase compared to same period last year, according to customs data analysis by RIA Novosti. In October alone, Chinese imports doubled from September, reaching 216 million. South Korea has also increased its purchases to 650 million over the same period, becoming the second largest importer of nuclear fuel from Russia. Well, South Korea then will, if they have a right to do so, or even without any rights or authorizations from Moscow, they might resell this nuclear fuel to US if it's technically possible. I don't know, but China, Russia-China relationships, by the way, are of course all-time high, and at this point, no information is surprising me when it comes to closer cooperations, including this one, which is good news, by the way, isn't it? Good news. US lost supplies from Russia, and China is increasing now imports, which is good for Russian economy, good for China. And when it comes to US economy, I don't know, man. When you have such administrations like current one, do anything surprises you? No, it's not it. And question is, who really runs the show in US? Who is making decisions, by the way? This is fundamental question, isn't it? Because everybody understands that Biden is not there, right? So who is making decisions, by the way, in US? Why this topic is not a major topic of discussion in US? Who the hell is, or who the hell are those people that are making decisions instead of elected president? I don't know, man. But the situation is really strange. But anyways, dear friends, maybe something will change in 2 months' time when President-elect Trump will take office. But last 4 years, by the way, was clear demonstration that there are certain forces in US that are making decisions instead of president. and hardly anyone can doubt that. It's just objective reality, factual information. And this is it for now, by the way. Hopefully you will find this update informative, interesting, useful. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about anything really. More likes and comments might help to overcome obstacles that algorithms are creating to reach wider audience. And yes, if you like my work, if you like my channels, you can support all the links, including crypto, by the way, crypto wallet, PayPal, Boosty, Patreon. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow if you are not a member of our community on Patreon and Boosty, but see you later on if you are a member of our Patreon and Boosty community, because I will have today, I will publish new episode of News of the Week. So this is it for now. Take care.